Hey, Nick. Over the last 4 months, how has your trust and understanding of your offense and its components evolved? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think you figure out what you're good at, what your guys are good at. You just get a better feel and flow for what your guys can do, what they execute, what you have executed, and so you just build confidence in things, and then there's things that come off of that too, like, well, this, you marry things together too off of the things they're good at. So I just think you just get a better feel for all the players, especially the players you haven't seen before or seen in a while. And what they can do, and you build your game plans off of that.
Mike Chappell.
Nick, how much do you allow yourself to self-critique? Frank was talking about that, I don't say second guessing, but after a game thinking, boy, I wish we had done this. Is it just natural to do that, or do you try not to do it?
Yeah, we all like to self-critique ourselves. I mean, and go through the process of how to get better. I mean, I think self-critiquing is one of the ways that you get better, right? And if you're not going to be critical on yourself and the things that you did in the game, and the good and the bad, then it's going to be hard to grow from. So I think that's from Frank's leadership. Frank is great at that, and he forces us to do it as well, and it makes us better. And everyone talks about getting better every day. I know we live it, based off coming from Frank's leadership and going through tough things like that.
Frank mentioned that the one play he would love to have back was the interception. Wish you'd have called a run play or whatever. Any play that really sticks out in your mind that, boy, I wish we had done something else?
Sure. I think you're always going to have that especially after a loss. You're going to always have that. They got us on a couple sacks, and to me, a couple of them were coverage sacks. A couple of them were coverage sacks. And they didn't do something we thought they were going to do. And of course, you're going to look at the play like, man, I thought they were going to do this on that play. And then Philip, we talked about it all week. Philip thought they were going to do this on this play too. And that's why he's getting ready to throw it. Oh no, they don't do what we thought. Boom. He moves in the pocket and he gets sacked. Well, of course, after something like that, when it hits, when something like that hits, you're all high-fiving and going crazy and like, man, I knew they were going to do that. It's just the way, it comes out different. I knew they were going to do that, and they did it, and we hit it in the face. But, I think about that one on the third down where, they did something a little bit different in coverage. And like I said, Philip looked at it. They didn't do what we thought they were going to do, and he moved and he got sacked, and we had to punt. And so, you look at a play like that. I think that was on 97 sack on Hayward's sack. And you look at a play like that and you say to yourself, man, I wish I would have gave him one more option on this, or, had they, I wish I would have played that part out of my mind. Had they done this, I wish we would have had this to counter it. I think that's pretty natural. But that's part of getting better. And you don't want to have too many of those. Obviously that's unacceptable when you have too many of those. It's unacceptable when you have even one of them. But you use that and you grow from that, and you try to use it to get better.
Thanks, Nick.
Mike Wells.
Hey, Nick, in your time around with Philip, whether it's a Week 17, half the must-win game to get to the playoffs, or a big playoff game, do you see a different side of Philip as far as preparation goes leading up to that week, or is he still the same as he was the previous, 15 games or whatever happened in the playoffs?
Yeah, great question. Great question, Mike. I think that that what makes Philip great is that he is the same every day. Because if you allow yourself to get two up or two down based off the opponent or what you deem as a big game or not as big a game, I just think that leads to inconsistent play. And so, Philip just prepares the same way each week, and we like to do that as coaches. We like to prepare our team the same way each week. Because, they all are big games, and so, yeah, I don't notice different preparation, different leadership. I notice the same guy every day. And that's something we ask all our guys to do. Hey, be the same guy every day, because then you can count on that person through the ups and downs of a season, because we know this season is ups and downs, right? Right now we have 10 wins and 5 losses. Well, every one of those 5 losses has been downs, and every one of those 10 wins have been ups. But then you just got to go to work the next day and be the same guy and prepare like it's your last game or your playoff game or the Super Bowl or the first preseason game, just all the same. So that's what I respect and admire about Philip, that he does that. And I've noticed, and so he's been the same guy each day this year.
Do you have to stress that even more, especially to your younger players? Because no matter what happens with those 1:00 games, you guys still have to win. You guys have to win, whether you're playing just in the season on pride, or you have to win because you win and you're in the playoffs. Do you have to put that emphasis along to the younger kids who haven't been in this position before?
Yeah, Mike, I think what has been established throughout the year is we'll remind them, we will remind them, because that's what we do as coaches. But the culture that Frank has built here and through the players and what the players have built here together is they all know that, and if you've been here for 15 weeks and of the season and you don't know that yet, something's wrong. So will we remind them? Yes, because that's just what we do as coaches. But I think that the guys have a great feel of, hey, we need to go out and take care of our business and prepare. And just because of the way Frank runs his football team and the type of leaders that we have in that locker room.
Zach Kiefer.
Nick, I get the job is Jacksonville this week, and that's the focus. Let's say you guys are up big in the second half. Will you allow yourself to look and see the other scores? How will you handle that? Because I get it. You're human. There's tendencies. You're going to want to look. How will you deal with that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question. Hopefully we're just trying to win the Jacksonville game. Would we love to be up big in the second half? Absolutely. Would we, so I don't know, Zach, if we're up big in the second half and I see it, someone would have to give it to me and someone would have to whisper it to me, because all my focus is on Jacksonville, and I'm not going to be paying attention to anything else other than that. I don't care what the score is. I don't care if it's 42-0, if it's 10-0, if it's 0-0, whatever. My focus is going to be on Jacksonville that entire game, because we got to play a good football game. The Jacksonville plays us tough every time we play them, and they're a division game, and we got to go out and have a good game. So that's going to be completely up to somebody else if they know it and tell me, because my focus is going to be on Jacksonville.
Ken Bone.
Hey, Nick, we haven't really asked you about Desmond Patman too much this year. What have you seen from him, and what's maybe kind of held him back from dressing in games?
I just, I don't know if anything's held him back except for the fact that we have major trust in that receiver group, and just, some of those other guys have more experience, and we're playing with those guys. As far as what I've seen from him, I just see a big, talented guy who can catch the ball, who's continuing to get better at his craft each day. He came out of college and having to work on technique stuff like all guys in college, and I see him doing that. I see him improving fundamentals, technique, and that's just going to go a long way with him, because he has so much skill in his body. Big body, fast guy, strong guy, good hands, and so he has all this skill that just needs to be redefined with his fundamentals and technique. And I see that each day in practice when I'm watching him in drills or watching him on the scout team. So nothing particular that he's done. It's just, that's a good group of receivers, and they've performed well and played well when they're in. It just he hasn't had the opportunity yet.
George Bremer.
Coach, I think Jonathan Taylor has 10 touchdowns now, 9 rushing, 1 receiving. Is that a special number for a rookie? And then also, what does that say about his work ethic and approach, especially in this season?
Yeah, I don't know as far as, obviously scoring 10 touchdowns for anybody is going to be really, really outstanding. So, and so he's done a great job there of getting the ball in the end zone when he's had the opportunity to, particularly finishing with touches down in the red zone. And we know some of his touchdowns have come from out of the red zone too. So, which speaks to his playmaking ability as an explosiveness. As far as Jonathan's work ethic and his desire and his football knowledge, all that, I think it's off the charts. I think, our scouts do a great job of just, digging deeper into the player. I think this is the best place I've ever been with just how much our scouts dig into the person, the player, and everything, and find out everything about that person. And they found out about Jonathan Taylor that he's not only a stud on the football field, he's a stud. The reason he's a stud on the football field because he's got great character and he's got great want to and desire to be great. And they knew that about him. And when you get a guy like that who's self-motivated and can gets himself better, he's just going to continue to raise his level of play. And that's what we've seen throughout the year with Jonathan. And, he's playing great football right now. He's making some runs that he's had some runs this last month of the season that really, I'd have to say if I'm watching all the runs in the NFL, he's right up there with anybody else that's playing running back right now. So yeah, can't say enough about him and the way he's been playing and the way he's been preparing.
Joel Erickson.
Nick, is Frank too hard on himself as a play caller sometimes? Because when you guys lose, he's pretty quick to fall on the sword.
No, he just is just like he constructs. He gives himself feedback, right? And he's just trying to get better. And I think that's a great thing for a leader to do, because he wants us to do that too. He wants his team to do that. He wants the players on this team to give themselves feedback and get feedback from us of what they did right and what they did wrong. Because so you repeat the things that you do right and you don't do the things again that you did wrong. And it starts with him. It starts with us as coaches, and as far as the coaches go, it starts with him. And what, if he wants us to do that, he practices what he preaches. And I love that about Frank. He wants us to get better each day and give and have tough conversations and get better from our mistakes. Well, he's going to have to do that too. And he does. And that's just great leadership. I think that's exactly what that is. That's great leadership, because if you see your leader of the football team doing that, right, then you're going to do it, because that's what he's leading the way to do so. And so, is he too hard on himself? I mean, there's times, right, that he'll say something to me because I think I'm probably the first one to hear, like, I should have done this or I should have done that. And there'll be times I'm like, Coach, that was a good call. I like that call. And I won't go into the details of when that happens or where that happens or what play that's happened, but we've definitely had that conversation before. But I just can't say enough about Frank and how good of a leader he is, because that's what he wants us to do. And so he does it himself, and he leads by example. And that's why I believe we truly do get better each and every day. That's one of the reasons why I believe that truly actually happens.
We'll do a couple more. Jim Aiello.
And Nick, the play where I think Avery Williamson just blitzed through the middle and sacked Phillip for an 8-yard loss. Is there anything Jonathan can do on that? Can he go left to pick up the blitz, or what did you guys tell him?
Yeah, there's a couple things that we can do as an offense. They first of all, let me just give them credit, because they timed that blitz up perfectly. They got us. They got us. I mean, the blitz was timed up perfectly. If you look at the play, you see we had Jack Doyle running open, pretty open on the play. Not pretty open. He was wide open on the play. But they did a good job of executing their blitz and then disguising their blitz. We didn't see it, and so I think the first person that's going to see a blitz is Phillip. He'll be and that's anybody in the NFL. Nobody in the NFL is going to see a blitz faster than Phillip Rivers. It really is not. So, can Jonathan step to the left? That's an option. Instead of stepping to the right and then coming back around. I just think that But you got to give the credit to the defense of sometimes they get you and sometimes they time it up perfectly. And Jonathan didn't see it until he had to step right and then came back left because he saw it late because they timed it up good. So we went through the process of what needed to happen there. There was about 3 things. I'm not going to go into detail of what those 3 things were, but there were 3 things that could have happened that, if we found ourselves in that situation again, that could happen. But if they time it up like that, I mean, most of those 3 things require you seeing it before it happens. And if they disguise it well like that, sometimes that's tough. And, we got to do a better job as coaches that if we're anticipating something like that to help our guys out. But a lot of credit to the Pittsburgh Steelers there. They're a good defense and they got us on that play.
Last question, Mike Chappell.
And Nick, again, with Jonathan Taylor, I realize the game will dictate what goes on and how you use whatever. What would it mean to get him 1,000 yards? He's sort of knocking on the door.
I think that's special for any player. And sure, we always want our players to reach those milestones. I mean, they work so hard. They in the classroom, they work so hard on the field. They work so hard in the weight room. And when we have opportunity to get guys those milestones, of course we want to do that, right? If we had to get a guy 100 catches, of course we want to do that. If we get 30 touchdown passes, 1,000 yards, all those things, we really want that to happen for these guys. I'm not sure that Jonathan Taylor wants it as much as I want it for him. So, and so obviously the first and most important thing is we're going to do what we need to do to win this football game. And if that means Jonathan Taylor ends up with 1,000 yards on the dot, then that's what it means. If it means he ends up with 1,200 yards, that's what it means. And we're going to do everything we can. We know what's at stake with this football game. We're going to do everything we can to win this football game. And if we can get him 1,000 yards on the way to the victory, that'll be awesome. And, to get a win and to get him 1,000 yards would be really cool for him and for us as a staff.
As much as you've got going on game day, I assume someone will be telling you, hey, he needs 7, he needs 12. I mean, you'll know.
Yeah, I think you usually know stuff like that. And we got good guys up in the box that are giving you that information. That information is always easier to get if you got a lead and you're in that 4-minute mode, of running up the clock. So we'll handle it how it needs to be handled. We'll probably know. And we'd love to see him get 1,000 yards for himself and for this team. I mean, that's obviously a huge team goal. Like you don't think those offensive linemen are thinking the same thing Jonathan is, that we're all thinking that. And yeah, we'd love for him to establish that goal.